Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this evening, we're joined by Alex James. And Alex is a tech entrepreneur, runs a company called iStadia, and also he's a non-exec on a number of other boards. And we're going to have a little chat about entrepreneurialism and Alex's businesses and a few other things. How are you doing this evening, Alex? You okay?
All good, Mike. All good. Hope you're well with these strange times.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I actually quite enjoying these strange times because everyone's online a lot more now, so they've sort of joined my world. Having worked from home for the last 8 years, I've been on a long lockdown.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, keep up the good work. Cause I've read and listened to a few of your podcasts and some good ideas and some very interesting stories.
Yeah, yeah, good. And yeah, I'm all about trying to help the next generation of entrepreneurs along because, I think entrepreneurial is a tough journey. You got to be a little bit mental to want to go through uh, the routine or the process. You got to be a lot mental to stick with it long term. So, how have you found entrepreneurialism?
Well, I'm a firm believer in things happening for a reason. I started out nearly 20 years ago. I was working for a company, very good job, very good relationship with my boss and my peers. But unfortunately, I had a car accident in 2001, which I ended up having some surgery and I was off work for 6 months, which I had a lot of time on my hands. The internet was starting to really take off, um, where you could buy a lot of products and services and bits and pieces. And I've always been into electronics. And basically, I started importing CCTV products and security systems uh, and things like that. And basically, it went from there. And I um, I was off, as I said, for 6 months. I went back for a short period of time, and then I went back as a subcontractor. So I got an opportunity where I could commission some large systems for Oxford University, um, and I went from there really. And the job got too big for me at the time, so I employed another engineer. But it was it was a good learning curve. I think we did around 90,000 in the first year, just the two of us. But the biggest driver was, I was in charge of my own destiny. And when things happen, and sometimes your life flashes before you, or either a family issue, or bereavement, or something happens to one of your friends, I think it's a life changing moment, and you want to be in charge of your own destiny. You want to be in charge of what time you go to work, how long you're going to work, when you're going to come home, etc. And you know, as I said, it's tough in the early years. I started out with credit card. My wife had a good job. Um, bit of compensation money from the accident got me through. But we went from strength to strength. I think the first 2 years we turned over about 150,000 in total. The third year we had a big break. We picked up a big job. Unfortunately, we had a bit of a bad debt that year as well, nearly 90,000, which took us back to borrowing, lending, scrimping, and saving on credit cards. It was a bit of a reality check, to be fair, where we checked out the customers there on credit checks, asked for deposits, and we just used other people's cash flow to help us get along. And that's a big important part of businesses. You can have a lot of turnover, but if you haven't got the cash to buy the product, then you're going to struggle. And I think that's quite true in these times at the moment with COVID. You'll see the strong companies with big balance sheets survive, which have got good cash reserves, and you see the ones which haven't got the strong balance sheets and cash reserves not survive. So, even the multi-million pound businesses, they work on smaller margins, but the cash flows still got to be there to be able to pay the wages at the end of the month. even with furlough payments now in these times, there's still people have got hire purchase agreements, there's rental payments. The government are now asking you to pay the tax and NI, but we are where we are with that, and companies who have built up good reserves over the years will be coming out the other side. But going back to when I started, there's there's an opportunity somewhere along the line when you start, you get a break, and you get a big break, and we had a big break probably 4 or 5 years into ours, and they always say businesses are built on 6 or 7 years, and we on a project to upgrade the Millennium Stadium security system, and our turnover trebled. And then on the back of that big job, we won the Cardiff City Stadium fit out for all the data, IT, AV, and we just grew. We went from 10 people up to 50 people. Then on the back of that, because we had two companies going, on the back of that, iStadia was born into digital signage, LED, and PA systems. And really, iStadia was born as a safeguard, really, because we set it up to safeguard the initial business building management solutions, because just in case that it was a 1.3 million pound contract nearly over a term, and if they weren't going to pay, then obviously the company would be in trouble. But in fairness, we come out the other side. There was issues along the way. I think there's a lot of well documented press when Peter Ridsdale was involved, and the stadium was nearly not finished. I remember going to a board meeting there with about 30 odd contractors, and big contractors who weren't getting paid. Some experienced businessmen were close to tears, but thankfully the Malaysian investors came in, and the rest is history, and everybody got paid up. But you've got to have your people around you. That's the big thing. You've got to have the people around you where you go to people you can trust, the people that trust you. And in that case, we were exposed to quite a large amount of debt, but we came out the other side. And it's a huge, the people in business, people trust you, you trust people, and I think you'll go a long way.
Yeah, definitely. And entrepreneurship as well, though, is sometimes having the right thing at the right time. It's not often Wales would have two stadiums built in a short period of time, but they had two, in the same city.
Yeah, well, they had two redevelopments. I think the Millennium Stadium was 10 years old then, so it was a little bit of a revamp from the security and CCTV point of view. And then obviously Cardiff City, it was a huge move for them to go from Ninian Park, which is now houses, and the new stadium is fantastic, state of the art. Everybody loves coming there. But on the back of that, our business has grown as a city, and this is where I don't think the city and the venues get enough actual praise for what they bring to the city. For example, the Millennium Stadium, on the back of events, concerts, we do a lot of work around the city when there's these major events, and we've worked on every major sporting event that comes to Wales. The Olympics, Rugby World Cup, numerous Six Nations, European UEFA Cup, the Women's Europa. But it all brings business into Wales, and that doesn't really get publicised, because there's a lot of companies like us who do a lot of work on these events, and it doesn't really go, it goes unnoticed, I think, from an economic point of view as well, for how well Cardiff as a city punches, well above its weight. And on the back of that, we've gained other projects which have been very rewarding.
Yeah,
and we've done a lot in England and the Southwest, and a lot with big manufacturers, other big Premier League grounds. cricket clubs. So it's one of those things where it is the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and the
Um,
ripples are long lasting, like because once you get in and you're associated with a brand like the WRU and the Millennium Stadium, and then the Principality, I suppose, with the upgrade when they rebranded and stuff, probably some work there, and Cardiff City Stadium. Once you're associated with brands like that, then you can pretty much work with any brand.
Well, I give you an example. We put a player tracking system in the Millennium Stadium, which tracks all the players' GPS movements. We did that. We've done 2 in Scotland for the Scottish Rugby Union. We've done 1 in France. So you do a good job and do a good job well. It can take you all over the world. Yeah.
The WRU, in my opinion, is one of the strongest brands in the world. It's a really strong brand. Actually, in my opinion as well, underutilized. I don't think the WRU make as much out of the brand as they could do, my opinion. But, I think they could leverage that brand in a lot of places. Imagine, for example, like I think they've done a deal with Brains, but imagine if there was a WRU pub in every bloody town in Wales. You'd be rammed. Especially they had like speakers in there. They had players in there every now and then and speaking or whatever. But I think personally as well, there's that block outside the stadium, which I'm surprised the WRU don't own. The one with the bar that's closed at the moment. The beer keller now. They could have that as they could have a hotel, a players' hotel, everything what they do at the Vale and pay the Vale loads of money. They probably could have all in house at the WRU, but I don't know. That's
Well,
my opinion.
they're developing that new hotel in next to Gate 4 now, aren't they? The old post office building, which is going to be a 5-star hotel, which they will obviously house the visiting teams, which is I think is due to complete now in January next year. So
Okay.
there's another revenue stream, which in fairness, to be honest with you, Martin Phillips at the WRU, sad to see him finishing, but he's been a very breath of fresh air in certain elements, or sorry, not certain, in most elements of the business, and you got to take your hat off to him. With he's brought a different edge to it. His predecessors have done very well to turn the finances around, but Martin has turned the business around, and he has sort of bonded the regional game as well, or aligned the regional game more with the WRU.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's it. It's a very complicated business because it's sport and business, and that's complicated. But I just think as a brand and as a business, if somebody who was used to running big businesses run the WRU, he'd be doing a lot more things.
Yeah, as I said, I go back to with the WRU at the moment and what they've done in the past. They have brought a lot of major events to Cardiff.
Yeah.
A lot of major events. I think the one that they missed out on was the European Championships, the football, where I think Scotland got one of the games.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. There wasn't it at this Euros? There was talk about someone not having their stadium in place, and they may end up in the Millennium Stadium anyway. There was some talk of that, wasn't there?
But there's not many stadiums in the centre of town which you know they record a profit year on year, and if they didn't record a profit year on year, Welsh rugby at all levels would suffer because they need to. And this is, I'm not sure exactly what the stats were, but by finishing the last Six Nations games and missing the autumn internationals will cost them probably in a region of about £5 or £6 million in profit.
Yeah, I think I've seen that article about that. They will struggle a bit this year because of all the missed games and stuff. But yeah, I just think I think they got such a strong brand. Everyone in Wales loves the brand. Everyone in Wales loves rugby. Generally, there's a big Cardiff City and Swansea City fan base, but pretty much most of those still love the rugby as well. And it's just got a strong brand that I just personally I've thought for a long time they could just do a bit more with it,
You take the recent tour to Japan, not the tour, the World Cup.
Yeah.
the work that the WRU, the development officers, and the commercial team did over there, I think Wales was received the highest. They did a phenomenal job of getting out to the grassroots clubs and the communities out there and making not so much Wales, but Wales obviously would have had a lot of recognition, but rugby and taking out the Ryan Joneses uh, and a lot of the commercial element of it. They were they were fantastic, and they were welcomed everywhere that they went, and it was brilliant. And they worked on that for probably over a year prior to the World Cup, and
Yeah.
I know from experience that people were going back and forth. Reece Williams, Ryan Jones, they were back and forth. They're promoting rugby and obviously Wales.
Yeah, and that works well, But I think a lot of that works well because we're red and we're dragons, and I think that's very um, of interest to the Japanese because I think red's their lucky color and the dragon is their symbol. So I think people they're going to have an affinity for us, because of that, and I think it worked really well, and yeah, the Japanese love the Welsh, and I think there are a number of Welsh brands who have got dragons on their brand who sell a lot to
Yeah.
Japan. I know there's some drinks companies and stuff because they just love the dragon, and so there should be more and more Welsh businesses selling to the Japanese and to Asia as a whole, really, because they do love Wales, they love the dragon, and the more we can knit together, our products with their economy, the better for Wales, I think, because they got much bigger economy than us. I think Japan have, haven't they?
Well, you've got one of the biggest employers in Wales in Sony and Pencoed. The Japanese, and I think they do very well out of Pencoed, but it's the same thing again. Pencoed is a manufacturing plant for broadcast cameras, which we use, and I know Steve, the MD, very well, and they're very passionate people. The Japanese, and their quality is second to none, and the way they portray themselves and the way the workforce and disciplined, and I just you see a different mentality in the people in the Far East. One, work ethic. I think the work ethic is second to none, and the quality of the work they produce is brilliant, and you can see that with the rubbing off in Sony and Pencoy.
Yeah, definitely. Taking it back to those early years in entrepreneurship, what are the key lessons you learned that you'd probably advise or share with up and coming entrepreneurs?
I think really you've got to ask yourself before you start the journey. You've got to have a plan, and you've got to ask yourself a few simple questions. Really, that's one of the most important things before you jack in I don't know, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100,000 pound job. You've got to ask yourself a few simple questions. Why are you taking the risk? What are you in this for? What would you consider success to be? How will success look? Will that look in the form of, I don't know, property, cars, money, jewelry? What floats your boat, really? And then, how long do you intend to do it for? Because once you start this journey, you've got to consider an exit strategy, or what's your end goal? And the other thing is, when you first looking at a business, how do you decide on what business you're going to do? You've got to ask yourself, what's your passion? What are you passionate about? Mine, I was passionate about technology. What's your talent? What are you good at? What are you actually good at? Um, I love the technology. I was good at developing the technology, or hopefully still am, developing the technology to help people's people's businesses become smarter, more efficient, and make money. Whether it's a digital signage solution, LED perimeter board, or a Cat6 cable which goes from A to B, and somebody's using a phone or somebody's using a computer. That was my sort of my thought process. But then, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Who do you need around you? You know.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that people underestimate, and especially in times of need and COVID, the power of your network. Your network is your business, is you really. Have you got go-to people? If you needed to get a job in or get a sale in, have you got somebody that you can go to? It's not everything is about selling. It's about relationships, and relationships, they're built on trust. Um, you know, Try and play a bit of a long game with people. Successful businesses are not sprints. You know, they're built on trust and relationship, and the only way you can deliver trust and build up trust is over a period of time through delivering products, delivering services. You know, um, it's not always a hard sell. I take my hat off to people that go to networking meetings every week, every month. But sometimes people go over the top. There's my business card, shove it in your face. It's not about that. I don't go to massive prearranged networking events. I'll go to a few, um, but I'm more of my networking is done at a rugby match or a football game, and it's a softly sort of approach. A lot of people don't like the hard sell, and certain businesses don't um, appreciate the hard sell because they might be thinking of something 6 months down the line, but you just got to plant the seed in a different environment. And when people get to know you outside of work or outside of a networking event, at a social event, then you do tend to get a little bit more of a trust. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the biggest thing I've found is listening to people and what their actual needs are
Yeah. Well,
and what they
so I teach sales and marketing and networking on my podcast. And for me, the big difference in networking is one is how you can demonstrate value to others. So how you can offer value to others to become valuable to them. And if you become valuable to them, you'll become trusted, and then you can do whatever business you want longer term. But it's about giving value back to others. So that's something which I'm passionate about because I just like helping people anyway. But so introducing them to people that and that sort of thing. I think lead referral partners are better than customers at a networking event. So actually finding somebody who believes in you and understands you and shares your values and whatever, and is maybe speaking to your potential customers either before you or around the same time as when they need you. So getting people like that who can introduce you to others, because I think it's always better to be introduced than to try and sell to someone. So somebody says, "I'll deal with this person; they're really good." That's a lot better than me saying, "I'll deal with me; I'm really good." So that's
yeah yeah yeah
that's some of my
personal
tips.
refer- personal referrals, and customer testimonials are huge. But I
Yeah,
think the starting point in any business or any job, whether it's whatever you look at, happiness as well. Happiness should be the start of any sort of successful job you know or project or whatever or whoever, however you look at it. Happy people make
yeah.
sure they're motivated.
Yeah, but that's it. Well,
Think
people
about it.
like to deal with people who are happy, and if nobody wants to deal with anyone who's miserable, do they? Like, is the thing, and that's the same. Like, if you go networking or if you're in business in general, if you sound like you don't want to be there, then people don't want you to be there. Whereas if you sound like you're enjoying yourself and you're enthusiastic and you're passionate about what you do, people love speaking to you.
But as leaders of a business or leaders of any organization, and I'll show you a slide later, but think about it. If you get up in the morning and you're not happy, you're feeling negative, you're feeling anxious, stressed, do you are you inspired? Are you going to be creative? Are you going to be motivated? Are you going to engage? You're going to be productive. That will rub off on your employees. because happy employees in front of your customers make the place a nicer place to work. The client is happier. If you've got a happy client, it's easier to sell them something else. So if your employees are happy and you've created that happy environment, it's a win-win, because happy customers, spend more money, they become more loyal, they'll spread your brand, to others, and that's a marketing tool in itself. So I think you've got to be happy, you've got to be motivated, you've got to be engaging, and you really, you've got to pass that down to your employees as well. And if I could share my screen a minute.
Yeah, go on. We'll carry on talking while you're doing that, and let me know when you're
So
ready. Or
if you carry on, and I'll try and share my screen with you now.
yeah, it's funny because I created a happiness formula during the lockdown, which is called SMART, and it's an acronym, and it stands for sleep, meditation, ability to perform, which includes exercise, nutrition, and hydration, random acts of kindness, and target setting, target achievement. And I believe that if you do those 5 things on a daily basis, which most people don't, most people do 60, 70, 80% of it. But if you do those things on a daily basis, you will become happier. It's almost, you can't not become happier, because they're all things that make you happier. Yeah. So there's a magic formula, which I was living during the beginning of lockdown, especially. I've been living it since, really. But doing those things, I've been really happy during lockdown, because one of the things I always used to let go, or let for granted, because I was busy, is I wouldn't always exercise every day. I'd exercise every now and then when I could. But I've been exercising every day, mostly twice a day, since the beginning of lockdown. And that's actually, my 20% that I needed to pick up on the formula. And the rest of it I was doing anyway. But I've been extremely happy during this time, because I'm productive, I'm energetic, I'm physically fit, I feel good about myself. I'm doing things of kindness, random acts of kindness for other people, which releases oxytocin. Exercising releases endorphins. Setting targets and achieving targets and hitting them sets off endorphins as well in your body. So basically, there's loads of things that if you do things, most people don't work to daily targets; they work to big targets. And so they're not actually achieving things on a daily basis. They're only achieving them. They're doing things on a daily basis to head them in the direction of a big target. Actually, if they give themselves daily targets and you hit them, then that will increase your adrenaline and your hormones, etc. Because human beings like achievement. They like success and ticking things off a list and getting things done. So all those things will make you happier. And if you can get your workforce to be happier, they will be more productive for your company.
Fit the body, fit the mind.
Yeah.
So here's my can you see this now? Can you enable that on there? Sharing screen share. If you enable that, I'll share my screen with you.
Enable
screen sharing.
Do you know which settings that in? I've gone to video settings and I don't think it's in there. Oh, share screen. Hang on a minute, that might be it. Enable the remote control of all applications.
You just need to enable me. Can edit this bit out after me.
I've done a few. Press escape or double click to exit.
If you go to preferences.
What's that?
If you go to preferences.
Preferences. There's no preferences on here. There's video settings and choose virtual background. There's that's all speaker and microphone. That's not that. Security, participant, machines, advanced sharing options. Maybe it's there. Multiple participants can share simultaneously. Let's try that one.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you going to edit this?
No. We'll just keep going.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So with our guys, we often need some in-house training. So we do toolbox talks for health and safety, etc. But I always finish on this: the
Yeah.
letters of team. Together, everyone achieves more. So
Yeah.
basically, we all work together. We can all work more efficiently, and we can all earn more. Is my philosophy with the lads. So if you work harder, you get rewarded more. You work quicker, more efficiently. Together, everyone achieves more.
Yeah.
And then another one which a good leader will always think of and should do. It would always listen to people, whether that's his employees or customers. It'll empower staff and key people.
Yeah.
It'll be accountable to staff and other people, which includes your customers.
Yeah.
It will develop people within your business and will develop business. And it'll always encourage your staff, whether that's through staff training or just general chit chat and monthly meetings. You'll always encourage people, and a good leader will always take responsibility. And that's quite key, I think, from an employee's point of view. If a leader does all those points, I say it's it's quite key, and I think you get a lot of respect for that. You know?
Yeah, it was very similar. So I created the SMARTS happiness formula because I think people need to be happy before they can be successful. Yeah, they need to get their life in order and be a happy person so they can be molded. But then I've got a streams success formula, and the streams is an acronym for systems, technology, relationships, efficiency, action, marketing, and sales. And I think entrepreneurs or staff members within a business, if they can be happy and then they can work on those 7 pillars of success, so systems, technology, relationships, which is the team and the network, efficiency, action, marketing, and sales. If people take those 7 pillars and really invest time in building those pillars up and making them stronger, then they cannot fail to become more successful, because all of those 7 things individually improve success, but done together, they improve massive success. And the happiness formula will allow you to sustain the success, because if you're working on the 7 pillars of success, but you're not looking after yourself, then you could have burnout or you could have heart attack or whatever, and your success won't last. Whereas if you actually do the happiness formula, which is looking after your health and your nutrition and hydration and your mental state and all the rest of that, then basically the 7 pillars of success will last much longer because of the way you're doing the smart streams, the happiness formula and the success formula. So I call that smart streams the elite business performance formula. And to me, the sell of that is smart streams will put you into full flow.
Oh yeah, that side of it is hugely important. All those points, because everything really in a successful business is a team, but making sure everybody feels part of a team is sometimes hard work.
It's massive. Especially like when you've got salespeople. I used to run sales teams. I used to be a corporate sales director in a fast growth tech startup business. And when you've got salespeople, a lot of the time they don't want to work in a team because they want to be the best and they want to outgun each other. And the reason I got promoted 9 times in 6 years, because I was one of the top salespeople. I was one of the 2 top sellers out of 250 sellers for like 10 years. But I was always the one that wanted to help other people as well, which is why I ended up in all the management positions, because, most good salespeople are quite selfish. And so therefore they're not very good at sharing. So they're not very good as team leaders or managers or whatever, because they don't want to help the others and share leads with the others or share advice or knowledge or
Oh
information.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They want to just be the best and are willing to just, do whatever they can to get there. Whereas I wanted to be the best, but also I wanted to help everyone else to be the best as well. And that's why I ended up, I grew a sales team from 7 people doing 300 grand to a department of 17 people doing 5.7 million over an 8-year
yeah.
period, which was a 20 times growth, 20x, which is double what Grant Cardone pitches. And a lot of people think he's crazy going 10x everything. But but actually, you can grow a business to whatever size you want to. I've seen it happen, especially tech businesses. We were selling high-end technical solutions to corporate companies around the country, and those companies will pay anything, anything going really for tech if that technology saves them cost elsewhere. So we were
Yeah.
saving them bums on seats in their credit control department by providing them with a bit of tech instead,
Well, that's what we tried to do with different parts of tech. We try and obviously monetize the assets that they've got, whether it's digital signage, whether it's LED. At the end of the day, everybody's got a return on the investment.
Yeah.
So if you invest in 100,000 in a piece of kit, it's either going to make you work quicker, more efficiently, or it's going to gain you revenue through advertising, media. So,
Yeah.
as I said,
It's like if you can put a bit of tech in the stadiums, that's going to serve the pints for everybody without there being staff. Then over time, that tech, as long as the shelf life on that tech lasts a while, then that piece of tech may cost a lot of money up front, but it could save a lot of money in the long run.
Well, a prime example is all the stadiums now around here, and probably the rest of the UK are going cashless, right? Because the amount of cash that goes missing on a big event and a big big venue is probably tremendous. But I think smaller establishments now with COVID, it's a prime time, not an excuse, but everybody should be going cashless, because obviously COVID, etc.
Yeah.
It's a piece of tech again. It's a PDQ machine. Everybody's got to have an internet connection, etc. So people of a certain age don't understand how important tech plays in life, and we're very heavily involved in sport, and tech is a huge part in sport, whether it's on a training ground, whether it's in a stadium serving the beer, or player analysis systems, or digital signage, or public address, or emergency systems. So tech is huge in life, and it will continue. It'll only get bigger.
I actually think I think we haven't fully recovered from the global credit crunch, and now we got this recession, which is going to be deeper and longer. So I think we weren't due a growth period for a while anyway. And all being equal, we're probably not due another one now. But I think the only thing that could potentially save us is the fact that technology is being used far more now than it was before. So there's massive efficiencies to be had. So I personally think once all these businesses that were run badly and haven't got the finances and the balance sheets and whatever, once all these businesses go bust, and there's a cleaning out, I think there's going to be a lot of businesses fast growing after that, because all of a sudden, their sales guys are doing 8 appointments a day instead of 2, because of their efficiencies and things like that. I think it's going to, and other tech, efficiencies and benefits that are going to come up and be seen, in the long run.
Well, you've only got to look at the price of tech shows, Zoom, TeamViewer, the likes of Amazon, eBay, all those online platforms. There's a company last week, a boutique company in London, Farfetched. They announced record profits for their second quarter because people are buying online boutique products. You know,
Yeah,
everything's going to be going on a cardo. Um, you know, all these online retailers are going to
yeah.
be growing naturally because of COVID, because people are not going out.
Exactly, exactly. And all the biggest companies in the world prior to COVID were all tech companies. But all those big companies are all going to be bigger, but there's going to be a wave of other companies like Zoom, and the like, that's going to join them. So, whereas there was, I don't know, 15, 20 tech giants, my guess is in the next 10 years is going to be like 50 tech giants.
Hey, and the other thing which you'll see, I was speaking to a chap the other day, and you'll know about this, is cryptocurrency once it gets regulated is going to be huge.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
Bitcoin has gone since March. Bitcoin has gone from 4,900 to I think it's around about just under $12,000 a Bitcoin. And the guy was telling me he's a Bitcoin trader, and he was saying that there's only, I think, from memory, 30 million bitcoins going to be made, and they're not going to make any more, and that'll run out in circa 100 years' time. So it's
yeah.
not a matter of just printing more money. So
No,
the Bitcoin will get value, will become more valuable year on year, month on month, or so
it'll be like money was before they removed the gold standard.
yeah, yeah. But the value will be in crypto once, certainly once it becomes regulated, and the likes of Amazon, uh, eBay, all these online people start taking it as a regular currency. Once it
Yeah.
gets regulated, it'll go through the roof.
Well, my prediction always was Bitcoin was going to go big because at the end of the day, why wouldn't a global currency go big? You know what I mean? So we
Yeah,
are going to keep
yeah,
changing your money to different currencies all the time. Something that's
yeah. But
online
then
and instant.
I think I think at the moment the government's answer is, if talk about another, there's a share company called, I think it was Delarue. Before COVID, they were a penny share. They're now over £1 a share, and basically they print money for the government. They print the banknotes.
Yeah,
The answer is not just to print more money, because the money's got to be repaid back somewhere.
yeah.
It's yeah.
But that's the problem, is that money
So
these days has gone too cheap now, is because they've removed the gold standard a long time ago, and they just keep printing more money. It just keeps devaluing the money, which is why most of the people who've got lots of money put it all into other assets like gold and silver and
yeah, yeah,
Bitcoin and property, and all those other stalwarts of assets, which always go up when money goes down and when there's a recession and stuff. Everyone parks their cash somewhere else that sits on it for a while
yeah.
in hard form, some acid form, like.
So I've got a parting slide which I'll share with you, and just a few bits of advice on what I've learned on the way. So I'll share this with you now. See if it works.
I tell you, who's a really good guy for helping you with wealth and stuff is Kevin Green. Kevin Green, he does
Yeah,
wealth courses.
yeah. I met him at one of the Intrabus events, I think.
Yeah,
So just in summary of where what I've learned, um, I would give any advice on it. Never be afraid to try anything. Um, Never be afraid of failure. Um, Always believe in yourself and your ideas. Remember the people on the way up, because sometimes things go wrong and you may need them on the way down. Never burn your bridges, and don't forget your network is your business, and that's a big one for me because I don't think people understand the wealth of their contacts that they have, and need the need to build them up over a period of time, and you build them up through trust. And what I've done over the years, I've kept reinvesting any profits to increase my assets, in business. We're very fortunate. Everything, all the plant machinery, screens, we own. and that allows you to build a portfolio, whether it be businesses. I bought a few other businesses, plant hire businesses, a property company, pub, and the other way you can acutely build your future is put your money into self-invested pension, because once again, you can be in charge of your own destiny, and it's fully tax deductible out of your corporation tax, and it'll help you build a healthy commercial portfolio. And you can buy any type of commercial property. So like we made
you can rent your own. You can buy the property with your pension and then rent it off. Your business can rent it off your pension to put more money in your pension.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we've done that a couple of times with a couple of different businesses. So if we've had a good year, it's totally legitimate. All the big companies do it. You create a self-invested pension where you have a pot of money. You can put, I think it's around about 50,000 now a year into your self-invested pension. It was a lot more many years ago. And then you can buy a unit, you can buy a commercial property and rent it back off yourself. Which so instead of paying rent to somebody else, you're paying rent to your pension fund. And obviously, you get the benefit long term.
I tell you another strategy which works really well at the moment. I don't know if you've heard about it or not, but I'll give you the advice because I'm sure it's something you would be proactive to do something on, and there will be some businesses out there. So a good way of expanding, is to find businesses run by not millennials, run by baby boomers,
Right.
who are all basically hitting retirement age now. And a lot of the time they want to sell their business, but they haven't got anyone good to sell it to.
Yeah.
And often they want to sell their business because, all of their family work there. If you've had a business for a long time, you've got a family there, haven't you? All of the, sometimes they are your family, sometimes in the business, but it's also, all the staff and all the people that you've worked with for a long time and you care a lot about. So, there's good deals to be done, really, buying businesses off other people, who've got portfolios, and they could be synergy businesses or collaboration businesses. It could be, for example, you might do a lot of printing, so you might want to buy a printing business, and then your business can be a customer for that printing business and whatever. And there's a lot of good deals to be done in buying businesses off people, where they're not looking to make a massive amount of money. They're looking to exit the business, but they just want somebody responsible who's going to take over the business and make sure everything continues on after them.
Well, that's exactly what I did with two businesses. We used to use a platform, business access, scissor lift, Ellsbury Access Platforms, and I knew the gentleman that owned it, and he was looking to retire. And we were putting a lot of business through him at the time. It was going back 10 years ago. And we bought the business, and we didn't pay over the odds for it, but he wanted an exit strategy. And he was happy, and we had the plant and machinery, and we've continued the business on. And then similarly with when we started the screen business, the LED trailer screens, there was a chap who had two screens. He's getting on a bit, and he wanted to exit his business. And basically, we did the same thing with him. We bought his business, we bought his assets, and it was a good deal for both parties. And we moved on from there, And
but if you found if you found like an iStadia type business in America and in for the Far East and various different countries, wherever they were, and you could find those people to buy those businesses on, then you could basically have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10, 20 branches around the world, and sometimes you haven't got to pay anything for the business, because you can actually buy the business off someone sometimes and have the business pay for the purchase of the business.
Yeah, it's like a management buyout sort of thing, isn't it? And you use the profits from within the business to buy the business, as long as the person is honest with the record. But it can be done. and a lot of people just want to keep their family employed and keep them going, and
Yeah.
that's one of the main concerns. Yeah, there is deals to be done, but you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to do your scrutiny on everything, and there is opportunities out there.
Yeah, but a mate of mine has bought lots, football clubs in Spain and all sorts of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Again, you just got to do the due diligence, make sure it's the right fit. But then you also then can have the parent company charge a management fee to the company as well, so you can
Yeah,
make more money through the parent company as well. Like.
yeah,
So yeah, he teaches that.
we've got a holding company set up, and which basically looks after the management of the 4 or 5 businesses. And yeah, you've got to work smart. Is the answer. You've got to work smart, but then at the end of the day, you've got to give a bit back as well.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just like, some people get caught with a massive tax bill because of their profits when they could have reapplied that profits into marketing and made sure that they were making more money the next year, and not paid such a big amount in their tax bill. But not everyone
Yeah,
always realizes that. So
yeah,
if you
yeah,
keep investing your money in your business, you can build it up and up and up and up, and actually save having to pay that tax to the tax man who, you know,
yeah.
they want you to be bigger anyway, so that's why they give you the incentive to do your marketing tax free, because they want you to keep growing, so you become a bigger and larger employer.
And in the end, they'll get more money in the end off you eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
they'll make more money on the tax of all the employees anyway, so they're actually encouraging
yeah,
you to don't spend the money on tax, spend it on growing your business. We'll get the tax some way. So that
yeah, yeah.
to me, like, if I ever hear anyone with a massive tax bill, I'm always like, why didn't you just invest it in more marketing? Because it's all tax deductible,
Well,
and just keep growing.
you can invest in marketing, but you can also invest in the pension side of it. Like I said,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, one or the other.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
All right.
That would be my advice to entrepreneurs: is just make sure that you don't spend money to the tax man when you could invest in your business growth in some way.
Yeah, you can keep growing your business, but at some point you have got to pay the tax man, because if you're making the money,
Yeah,
you you do have to pay it. But the way I found it is self-invested pensions, because you can buy assets commercially, and they're worth something to you and the business, where you wouldn't be paying rent to somebody else, you're paying it to yourself.
yeah, yeah. You could also gift it to charity as well. If you're making that much money, give some to some other people somewhere. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
not
You
make
know,
I give it up to charity, but I'm not making that much yet to
no.
give that much away.
But
Yeah,
my mission is, if ever I make some serious cash, I'm going to put together a fund and be an angel investor, but not one that's looking to make money on deals, one that's looking to help people get going. That's my mission.
yeah,
That's If I make it to become a global speaker, that's what I want to do. I want to be an angel investor in the term, in the right term of angel, in the right meaning of angel, rather than just somebody
Well,
who's more like a shark investor that just wants to leverage your business and your products or whatever to make more money for themselves.
why do we set up the Welsh version of Dragon's Den?
Hey, I'm up for that. If you are, I actually have.
Yeah,
I said I would set up a Welsh Dragons Den feature on my podcast, but I haven't actually started that yet. But yeah, I'm up for that. If you are, I at the moment haven't got a load of money to invest in businesses, which is why I say once I become a global speaker, I will. But I actually am a philanthropic entrepreneur already, because one of the things that's most valuable, if you give somebody a fish, they'll eat for a day. If you teach someone to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. It's the
yeah,
same with
yeah,
money.
good.
You give someone money and they don't know how to spend it, or they don't know what they're doing, it'll just disappear. Yeah. But if you give people the skills and the knowledge to how to get their own money, they'll be able to keep getting money forever. So I actually gift knowledge, sales training, marketing training. I do peer marketing for people, networking training. I gift knowledge, which hopefully will allow them to, build and grow their business. If they listen to it, it will. And that's, that to me is giving. I'd rather
Yeah,
give people knowledge and let them, you know, let them grow, you know, in whatever ways they want to. I think one of the big knowledge I try to give people, and I'm constantly banging this drum, is that most businesses are operating around 10% the marketing level they need to operate at if they want to grow big. So I'm always
Yeah.
trying to just tell them that, you know, engage with your marketing strategy and activities just, you know, 10 times more than you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely.
Because
My battery's about to go. My laptop.
no
Like,
worries, no worries. We've been, you know, pretty on for a while. I think for a pretty long time. Um, oh, well, I was just going to say, tell us a little bit how people can get in touch with you, and leave it there then. But that was Alex James. He's on LinkedIn and most socials. The company's called iStadia. And yeah, you can get in touch with him, you know, on LinkedIn or via the website, etc. There's nothing else left for me to say other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening. Cheers. Bye bye.